Three, two, one. Welcome to the David the Dog Trainer podcast, episode 199.
Yep.
We're going live on all the channels. Let's see. YouTube gave me a hard time with this last time.
Really?
YouTube, it kept doing this like loading where it said it was going live, but it never actually did. Here I am. Got Josh here too.
Hey.
What's good? Doing a little live Q&A here. Let's talk about some dog stuff, guys. So this is the podcast 199. We're coming up big time on the episode 200. Pretty wild to think. Does it say? What does it say?
Huh? Oh, I don't.
Oh, you don't have the. Dude, you gotta get the internet.
I never used this here.
Coming up on the big 200. Kind of wild to think that I've literally been doing this for 200 episodes. I mean, hold on, I gotta log into this thing.
We're troubleshooting right now.
We're troubleshooting.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Welcome everybody. We got about 8 viewers on Instagram. YouTube is just being a motherfucker right now. What the hell's going on with it? But yeah, so we're going to be doing live Q&A here. We're trying to do these once a month. This is 199. We got some big plans for 200 episodes. That's like, God, Jesus, like 200, probably 250 plus hours of talking on a podcast, which is a little bit insane.
It is insane. We've done a lot of talking.
Nick Buchman just joined.
Hey.
What's up?
What's up, Nick?
Hey, thanks for the gift card, Nick. We appreciate it. We're excited to eat some pizza. So as everything's buffering here, we'll kind of go over, I like to do a little like week recap, big things going through my mind over the course of the last week. And last time, I think it was allowing your dog to make decisions and have proper interactions more. This week, it's all about socialization. He said, sorry about that. It's all good. Everybody's good. So this week, it's all about socialization. So I've been doing so much dog-on-dog socialization with dogs that just like historically have not been able to socialize with dogs over the course of this last week. And it has just been an absolute game changer. I mean, as dog trainers, I think as we progress through our journey of dog training, if you will, I think we lean into certain areas more than others and then like kind of bob and weave back and forth. And it's always this balance of like obedience training and making sure your dog can be compliant and reliable. What does it say? Is it live or no?
No, you're not live on there.
Man, motherfucker. I just don't understand why YouTube Live is giving me such a hard time these days. But we kind of bob and weave between, obedience training and making sure the dogs are going to be compliant because that is such an essential part of dog training, and like socialization and teaching a dog how to properly interact with dogs and people, right? And over the course of this last week, it truly has been just all about socialization. It has been all about making sure that we can get these dogs to play with other dogs, making sure we could have proper outlets so that when we go to add in the obedience training and when we go to add in the control side of things, if you will, that we could ensure that we've properly fulfilled the dog's desire to interact with those things and, kind of help them overcome some of those hurdles if they had historically been struggling or been concerned about those triggers. So like we've got a bunch of board and trains in right now and a bunch of them with various degrees of social issues. So like one in particular we have right now, we have this dog Kevin in. And Kevin is up from Rochester, I believe. He made the trip up here. He's done training before, but socially, he just doesn't interact well with other dogs, right? So there's not even much we need to do from a training standpoint because he knows his commands, right? The owner can keep him under control. The owner can make sure he walks nicely and does sit stays and, does bed stays and all of those types of things. But like socially, the dog is just really awkward. So every single day, it's just been this process of getting him out with the other dogs, literally just allowing him to interact and loosen up and kind of develop these like meaningful relationships. And the change we've seen in him in just a couple of days of doing this. And it's been, like I said, like very, very little obedience training. We've taken him for walks out in public settings and all of that. But the changes we've seen from a social standpoint, I mean, day one when I brought him in, it was like tail absolutely tucked, like couldn't be further tucked, hackles completely up, just like hunched over, just so nervous anytime dogs would come near him. And we progressed to this dog literally playing the other day for the first time in probably a very, very, very long time for him, like loose as can be. And just like seeing these dogs make this shift into that, like that extreme of the spectrum of they could loosen up and just have a great time. It's just like, I made a post the other day of it because I think it was 5 dogs out, 5 of my boarding trains that I'm working with, and they're all just having the absolute time of their life. And I was like, there's just nothing better in the world than being able to see these guys loosen up and open up like that. Another one, Riggs, this new kind of, I want to say collie mix or something we have in right now. So hyperactive, right? This dog, you'll be seeing videos we'll be posting of him because Paige filmed the drop off with him. So hyperactive, so all over the place. Like they have to like keep him on a really short leash to keep him under control. And you just see him just radiating this energy, shaking and like lunging at everything in sight, not even in an aggressive manner, but just a completely impulsive, uncontrollable manner. And they had never been able to socialize him before. Anytime he tries to interact with people, it's very inappropriate because of the amount of energy he has. And it's like, we could look at a dog like that and say, this dog needs more control. And he does need more control. Like this is an important thing that we need to be able to teach for him. But like, in addition to the control, we've just got to be able to make sure that we could let this dog let some of this energy out. I mean, he's rehearsing these behaviors because he's so bottled up all the time. He's so pent up with energy. And all we've ever done is hold him on these short leashes away from all of these things that he wants to interact with. And like, just giving him the outlet the first time to be able to actually run around and play with other dogs and guide some of his decision making. So if he did take the impulsiveness too much and start jumping over people or climbing onto the fences or things like that, we were able to correct those things. When we did ask him to then contain it, like when we do go and work on his leash walking and stuff, it's like so much less of a fight. And this is a dog that's been to like all these different vets and behaviorists, and he was on like, 2 or 3 different anxiety medications because they just like look at an impulsive dog like this and they're like, oh, he's anxious, he needs anxiety medication. But it's like, no, he needs a freaking outlet for his energy, and he needs to be held accountable for some of his decision making that he's making. And man, it's just like the coolest thing to see these dogs open up. So that's been the biggest thing that I've been working on right now is the socialization with these dogs. We've been heavily, heavily emphasizing that. So YouTube's not working still? Man.
Nothing. Trying to look.
Are you logged into the YouTube from your phone?
Not in my phone.
I feel like we need to try to. You're not?
No, I can though, real quick.
Yeah, I feel like I really need to get. You don't have it live there, do you?
No,
that's Instagram.
Yeah, this is the Instagram.
Are you logged into the YouTube on your computer? If so, can you maybe try to go live on yours or something so we could get it up?
Yeah.
Matt, hey, how's it going, man? Pretty busy around here. Your dog just had 10 pups 2 weeks ago. Jesus, that's a handful. Hopefully that you are keeping yourself busy caring for all of those guys. So what's everybody up to? Leave some questions, comments, hang out. We're trying to get YouTube live here, guys. I don't know why this is the second time in a row it's giving me a hard time. Anything?
Getting into it right now.
Man. This is annoying. Yeah. Technology, guys. I was just joking on a podcast episode the other day that I feel like once a month we go to start one of these and there's some sort of technical difficulty that we run into. So here we are again. Technical difficulties, Instagram world. If you guys have any dog training. Oh, here we go. We got some stuff. Adam says, new puppy, no issues, about 5 months old. Good time to start conditioning an e-collar. Yes. E-collars start like It depends on what you're going to be using it for. So my newest dog, Waffles, who, God, he's going to be like 4 now. But when I first got him, I started an e-collar with him probably like 4.5 months old, but I was very selective of what I used it for. So in his case, he had horrible crate issues when I first got him. Like we've dealt with a lot of puppies before that you got to let like whine it out in the crate and stuff like that. This guy was like on another level. Like when you put him in a crate, it was like absolute total meltdown. No amount of waiting him out was going to allow him to chill out in there. I mean, he would just scream and scratch at it and howl and just go absolutely bananas crazy for like, I mean, hours, honestly. And it was just, he needed to get past it. So we started an e-collar with him very early on just to correct for that thing, right? And this goes against what a lot of people will tell you, which is like, you have to condition the e-collar before you use it for punishment and all this kind of stuff. I don't believe that's the case. I think with young dogs, if anything, I would hesitate on using the e-collar for the training of behaviors. So using like negative reinforcement, obviously. Because there's so many alternative, like younger dogs, you could develop food drive so easily with them. They're not all calloused up to having leashes around their neck where you could teach with leash pressure pretty easily, where you can get away with getting a lot of your obedience training out of the way without the e-collar, where behaviorally, some of these things you want to be able to give corrections for, I think it's much easier to do with the e-collar for younger dogs. So yeah, I would say you could definitely do it right away. You see, now everybody's talking. Took you guys long enough. Jesus Christ. Yeah, you definitely can do it right away, and just be selective of what you need it for, right? That's really the question is like, if you're going to implement a training tool with a younger dog, it's like, what do I need this for? And are there alternative ways to work through it? So in my case, with our younger dog, the e-collar was going to be the easiest way to address the nonsense in the crate initially, because sure, can you address crate reactivity with like a leash on the dog while they're in the crate, or like maybe a pet corrector or something like that? Sure. But like when we're trying to sleep at night and the dog is like on a totally other side of the house in his crate freaking out, an e-collar is really the easiest tool to do that and help you get past it. Where like maybe jumping, let's say I was trying to correct jumping with a young dog. I could do that with a leash pop just as easily as I could do it with an e-collar correction, right? If I'm trying to teach an obedience command, right, I could do that much easier with, a food lure or with leash pressure initially, right? So you just got to ask yourself what you want to use it for initially. So next one, pumped to be listening in. I dropped my dog Lars off Tuesday. The girls in the office were so great, and I word vomited and said goodbye to him. Lars has been great to have here. I haven't worked with him myself yet, but I know Bridget and Sarah have been crushing it with him. So we are very happy to be helping you out with your pup, and glad you had a good experience. Obviously, you're not the only person to word vomit when dropping off their dog. You were also not the only person, if you did, to leave our lobby after you drop off the dog and go in your car and cry for 10 minutes before you drive home. Everybody feels so bad when they get very emotional on the drop off the first time, and I tell them, trust is like we've seen people probably be 100 times more emotional than you are dropping the dog off. So, stay tuned on the progress, obviously, and we're happy to help you out. Obviously, what else we got here? All right, Matt says the e-collar I use has a beep on it, so I use that as kind of a clicker reinforcement instead of using a clicker. Works amazing. Use it on all my dogs. So yeah, so you're using the tone as a positive marker, which is fine. Absolutely nothing wrong with that, right? Any neutral sensation, so whether it's a word or a sound like that, or some people will do it with a vibration setting on the e-collar, can become a positive marker. So you condition it with positive reinforcement. Tone, reward, tone, reward, tone, reward. And over time, obviously, you're going to train your dog. That's no different than saying yes. Now, the thing I don't want to say push back on, but I kind of question is if you want to do that, that's fine. But I want a positive marker that I could use anywhere, right? All the time, no matter what. And you are always going to be contingent on having the e-collar on in order to deliver your positive markers by doing it that way, where why not just use a verbal command where it's there all the time, right? That's the only reason why I kind of question the use of using something like that as a positive marker. And that's another reason why I don't really love a clicker either. I know there's all these debates on like, oh, well, the clicker is the same tone every time and this and that, but it's like, I don't know. I've trained enough positive markers in my day with like a yes or a good, where I know I could say it consistently enough where it's not really that big of a deal. But hell yeah, no, like I said, no problem at all with that, obviously. Socialization is the number one thing we need help with regarding to Lars. Lars will be getting lots of dog playtime. We try to make sure all of the dogs that are here get a social every single day, right? Even if it's a short one, a long one, whatever it may be, we really lean heavily into that. And just, man, like I said, seeing these dogs like open up and play, it's one of the coolest things in the world. Matt says also works as a warning. So are you so I'm not sure if you're referring to the tone still on the e-collar that you're talking about, but that would not be accurate if you're saying that you're using the tone as a positive marker as well as a warning. You're right. You can't have two different meanings for the same signal, essentially, right? A lot of people will suggest that, as far as warnings, they'll use the vibration like a warning, right? So like, they work with the dog, and let's say the dog goes to jump on the counter. They'll hit the vibration, and then if the dog doesn't stop when they hit the vibration, they'll then give a correction. So basically what you're doing is you're training the vibration, not even as a warning, but you're training it as a command, meaning to get down from the counter. But we don't train that way, right? I always say all the time, if my dog is doing something that they shouldn't be doing, by giving warnings, you're constantly going to be at the mercy of needing to give the warning in order to get the dog to stop doing it. And you never reach the pinnacle of what you want to reach, which is that the dog just stops making the mistake in the first place, right? So you would have to probably add some clarification to exactly what you mean by that. But generally speaking, warnings are kind of a big no-no in dog training. Let the dog make the mistake. Teach the dog the consequence for making the mistake. Don't warn them. It's like, did you ever have a friend growing up, or like my parents did this to me sometimes too, where they would like do the, like you would be making a mistake and they look at you and they'd do the 1, 2, 3, right? Like, and if I get to 3, you're going to get in trouble for it. And you know what happened every fucking time that happened? That number got all the way to 2.9, right? And you never learn anything, right? Because it's like, they're bluffing until you hit 3. So it's like, what incentive do I have to stop at 1 as opposed to 2, as opposed to 2.5, as opposed to 3, obviously, when I know I can get away with, I know I have this leeway. If I can keep doing this thing right up into that line, right? So that's why I don't like warnings. They're not effective. Allow the dog to make mistakes and teach the dog the consequences for those mistakes. They said I word marker and the tone, but the tone works from real far away. So for recall, so you're Matt, you're describing this as like 3 different things, right? So you're saying that, if I'm understanding you correctly, you're saying that the tone is your positive marker, so it's your yes, so it's the signal that means reward is coming, right? You're saying that the tone is a warning, which would mean that it is kind of a negative marker, but it's also just a command, right? And you're saying that it also works when they're real far away for recall. So then you're saying it's also a recall command, right? So this is the thing I question on people is, with your words you're using with your dog, you have to have clear meaning behind them. This is why I push back a lot of times on people that use things like leave it all the time or other like interrupter words, is they try to use them for like tons of different things. And if you can't even articulate clearly what that thing is to somebody else that you're explaining to them, your dog will never understand it. And that's why we keep everything as absolutely simple as possible with the commands that we're using and with the marks that we're using. So I would probably solidify that a little bit. This is Nordic Canine says, hey Nordic Canine, how are you? Any word on YouTube over there?
Yeah, I'm getting there now.
You getting there?
Getting there.
Man, we got to get YouTube cracking. So what else is new with everybody? Anybody got any dog training struggles or questions that they're dealing with? Instagram's kind of a pain in the ass to deal with this. Man, guys. Wait, maybe? We got YouTube cracking yet?
All right, I'm at the going live.
Dude, I don't know what the hell is going on with YouTube.
Yeah.
nothing on there? All right, let's.
Not so far.
I'm gonna pause for a second.
Able to do it.
All right, guys, we are officially back on. I paused for a minute. We were live on Instagram, but I was highly distracted the whole time because our fucking YouTube wasn't working. So now I just had to kind of flip-flop things, and apparently YouTube Live only works when I do it on my phone. We tried on 2 different computers. It doesn't work for whatever the fuck reason. Yeah. But we're live on YouTube now. So guys, engage. Let's talk. Let's save the podcast. Let's save the podcast episode. Pretty Boy Allie said, as I just finished watching the Ivan podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. I think that was the series that I did on the whole like Zach George Ivan debacle, which I'll tell you guys, I'm really fucking glad that that's over. Yeah. I think that like Zach George like somehow weaseled his way back into having like his like 3 months of fame again by like pushing on all of the popular trainers. And I think everybody just kind of called him out on his shit. And then I think he disappeared again. So I think if I'm not mistaken, I haven't checked his Instagram page in a while, but I think he's still out there, posting ridiculous stuff. But I think everybody has just realized that there's no sense in like trying to talk about anything pertaining to what he's saying anymore. So as I was saying on Instagram, socialization, guys, I want to talk about socialization. Tell me about anybody that's watching this. Tell us about maybe, any issues you're struggling with your dog, any questions you may have. Talk about, hurdles you feel like might be getting in the way of you socializing your dog more, or anything like that. Let's get the conversation rolling here. I'm trying to think what else has been new in the last week. Man, just those boys. It's been really busy. So I did an interesting lesson yesterday with this dog Meatball, which we have one YouTube video of him up right now. I think it was one of the best performing YouTube videos we posted in the last couple months. It was like, where exactly do you correct your reactive dog? It's with a Rottweiler, and we were at the park. It was like the most perfect day as can be out, and we passed a gazillion dogs. He had dog reactivity issues before, and we're kind of showing exactly where that line is that you need to correct, right? A lot of people get either way too early or way too late, right? So they get way too early and try to correct like looking and staring and loading, which we talk in the video why I think that's ineffective, or people will wait way too long. Joyful, you are on YouTube Live right now. You asked, is YouTube Live not working again? You asked the question on YouTube Live. But no, it was not working before. Yeah, you are absolutely correct. It wasn't working before. But anyways, Meatball. So people, too early, too late, right, is constantly the problem. So that video, I think, highlighted very well exactly where to give that correction so the dog can retain it as best as possible. But anyways, they are, the reason why they signed up for training, she's in the military and she's moved around a lot. She's getting stationed in Germany, right? Now, Germany is very, very strict as far as training tools that are used and breeds, right? They have a lot of breed-specific legislation out there. So since he's a Rottweiler, technically he is under a like Category 2 breed, I think, which basically means they're listed as the more dangerous to them. So when she gets there, she needs to go through a vicious dog testing thing, right? So they have like an approved person that comes out to your house, meets your dog, introduces your dog to another dog, and basically says like, hey, is your dog vicious or not? Can your dog stay in this country, right? Yeah. So all of our training has been done preparing her for this test and simulating the things she's ultimately going to simulate. Now, luckily, the dog is not aggressive. The dog's fine with people. The dog's fine with dogs. The dog's just really kind of quirky, right? So he gets a little bit nervous sometimes. Never tried to bite anybody before, but he'll like bark at you if he's nervous of you. And like I said, he has historically been a little reactive on the leash, but he socializes fine with other dogs, et cetera, et cetera. So yesterday was the first day that we've progressed through his training enough where like training-wise, there's no big problems. And we have a plan to kind of fade out the e-collar, if you will. Head halties are legal in Germany. So we've basically been pairing e-collar sensation with the head halty so that when the e-collar needs to come off, when she's out in public, the head halty should still be kind of doing the work for the most part. And then she could obviously use the e-collar in the privacy of her own home and, continue to kind of keep that history of reinforcement. So the dog will be fine from a training standpoint. But yesterday was the first day we had a new person come. Bridget came with me to the lesson. She's never met this dog or client before. And we simulated the test, which is basically they come into the house, right? And they start petting the dog and interacting with the dog. And, we have to plan for these people doing things that generally, if we had control over how we were introducing the dog to other people, we would never let them do, like get in their face and really immediately upon getting in, start interacting with them and stuff like that. So we tested all of that. Bridget got real intimate with him, messing with his ears and face and all that. Then we took him for a walk, and then Bridget hid somewhere out on the walk. And as we were walking by, she basically jumped out from a corner and ran up to the dog and started petting him to see what he was going to do. And this dog absolutely aced the test. And, it kind of got me thinking a little bit, as trainers, we put so much emphasis into management around people and around dogs and stuff. But at a certain point, having the knowledge and the data of what your dog would actually do in certain circumstances, I think is very valuable, whether you're ever going to allow those things to happen or not. It's like, you ever watch the videos where, people are like, oh, I wonder if my dog would protect the house, and they have the dog loose and they have some guy walking in a bite suit to like see what the dog does. And everybody's like all like startled, like, oh my God, my dog actually wasn't as aggressive as I thought they were going to be. In many of these situations, when you just put the dog in a situation to interact with the person or interact with the dog and you don't try to micromanage them, we find that the behavior is usually way better than we think it's going to be, which if we could see that for the first time as owners of like, oh my God, somebody ran up and tried to pet my dog and they didn't actually try to bite them. Or, a dog ran up to my dog out on the walk and, I stayed loose on the leash and my dog didn't try to attack the other dog or things like that. Though we don't want those things to be happening, having the knowledge that your dog isn't going to be a like aggressive monster in those circumstances, I think psychologically is such a massive relief that owners can feel and help them to be able to do the things they need to do from a training standpoint and push the thresholds and put the dogs in situations to socialize a little bit more. So that was something that really got me thinking a little bit after that session is, man, like I almost want to like come up with my version of this like vicious dog test, and like all of our behavior mod clients, like by the end of their program, like almost like make them go through that test to really gauge where the dog truly is at from a social standpoint by the end of it. I thought it was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Like I said, we had to train for this picture, and it's like, all right, well, like maybe we push this envelope a little bit more with some of our other clients. So
Yeah.
what's are you reading these?
Yeah, I can read them. Yeah. Oh, is it really tiny?
Yeah, it's very, very tiny.
Oh my gosh,
Dude, it's so tiny.
Yeah. Processed by way of superficial responses. That's the name.
All right.
One of my favorite tricks is to put the choke chain on reverse. That way the slack never releases. It also makes clients think I can actually walk a dog on the leash. Highly recommend my e-course.
I don't know if I understand what you're saying. Put the choke chain on reverse.
Yeah.
Do you mean a choke chain or do you mean a prong collar? That way the slack doesn't release.
Yeah.
You're going to have to elaborate on that.
Yeah, for sure.
I actually don't know what that means.
I don't know. Then we had Dogs from the City. They said, hello from the trainer in Shanghai.
Hey, what's up, Shanghai? Man, I remember one time, I think I posted maybe some of the virtual consult from this in like a vlog or something, but I did a virtual consult with a woman that owns a dog training company in, I think it was like China or Korea or something.
Yeah.
It was somewhere, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it might have been China, right?
Okay.
And it was oh shit, it was you.
Yeah.
Shanghai, China, look at that. How you doing? Well, I was just going to say, that was one of the most interesting conversations I think that we had, because you had really highlighted a lot of the cultural struggles of helping to get your trainers to become more curious, right? And I thought that was, or more, I think it was curious, but also to like experiment and get creative with things, because culturally creativity is not like, it's not, nourish is not the right word. What word am I looking for? I don't know. It's not like pushed, upon the community there. And I thought that was such an interesting conversation that we had, and like almost approaching, this like, with your trainers, like putting them in positions where they're almost forced to become creative with things. So I thought that was very, very interesting. Yeah. Well, hope you're well. Glad that you joined us on here, obviously. So. What does Pretty Boy Alley say? I can't read.
I said, I truly appreciate the information you all give.
Nurtured. Yes. Joyful
Nurtured.
canine. Thank you.
Go.
Nurtured is exactly the word that I was looking for there.
Appreciate all the information you give in the videos. Always come when I need them in the beginning of my dog training journey. What would it take for me to shadow under y'all?
We have a shadow program. It's actually, honestly, I don't want to like toot my horn or anything, but I think it very well may be one of the most bang for your buck shadow programs you could do. Like I charge so little for it, honestly. Like it's like, I honestly should probably like quadruple the price on it. So if you want to do it before I do that. I put a lot into the shadow students that are here. I always tell everybody from a shadow standpoint, it's not that, it's not intended for you to learn how to train dogs, obviously, but it is intended for you to just to be engulfed in just dog training in general, right? So when the clients come here, usually they'll come for 5 days because I have like a 5-day shadow package for like, I don't even remember how much I charge. I think it's like $1,200 or something. It ain't shit, honestly. And you come here and 8 hours a day, right? You're here for 8 hours a day, and we are going to train fucking dogs for 8 hours a day. And you're going to see lessons. You're going to see board and train sessions. You're going to see, business related things. So how we make sales calls, how we do social media. You're going to see literally everything. And it's a cool program. I think everybody that's ever come and done it has felt they've gotten a ton of value out of it, and it's really helped them to be able to open their mind a little bit to like different ways of training. I don't think we do things that different than everybody else, but I do think that we approach things in a little bit less of the normal way when it comes to how we conduct our lessons, and particularly how we interact with our clients. And what everybody has told me consistently at the end of the shadow program is they can't believe how simple we make things for the client. And I think that's the biggest key to success with stuff, is the simplicity that we approach everything with, but still maintaining like the firmness that I think a lot of clients want out of their dog. And it's again, not to like toot our horn or anything, but I was thinking the other day, because like there's a lot of like up and coming dog trainers right now that are, and I don't want to say up and coming, like very popular dog trainers right now, but have become popular over a very short period of time. Like one of them in particular, Dylan James or whatever, Day-to-Day Canine, just doing absolutely fucking phenomenal work. He's like one of the TWC graduates, and I've really, really enjoyed the stuff he's been putting out. And I think he's approaching things from very much this mindset of, again, like socialization and allowing the dog to open up and thrive and giving them outlets and really transforming how the dog views the world. And it's hard because I think a lot of people look at training and they look at either trainers like that are approaching things from like the most holistic way possible, the most like natural, how do these dogs really interact with the world out in nature and stuff like that kind of way. And then they look at things from the polar opposite end of the spectrum, which is like the heavy-handed e-collar, prong collar trainers that everything is about control and everything is about management, et cetera, et cetera. And I just feel like there's so much that could be learned from both of those worlds. And I think people either look at this way as the way and this way fucking sucks, or this way is the way and this way is stupid and unrealistic. And I've even been guilty of this in the past. But I think, I don't know, man, I really want to blend both those things. I think when you look at the more heavy-handed traditional style training, right? So like your trainers that follow the Keeler method of dog training, very firm with the e-collar, very firm about expectations, stuff like that. I think that's a necessary component to making sure you truly have a well-behaved dog, is making sure that on a minute's notice, you could like literally like get the compliance you need out of your dog, right? And you could teach them firm boundaries and stop things very quickly, et cetera, et cetera. And then on the other end of the spectrum, I think that there's so much to be learned from focusing on why the dog is doing some of the things that they're doing, right? And addressing the root cause of things, socializing your dog more with their environments, right? Socializing your dog more with dogs, as I talked about at the beginning, socializing your dog more with people, and not avoiding some of these problem places. I think we have to break out of this mold of like training like there are certain situations you just can't put your dogs in, right? And start asking the question of like, how realistic is that for some clients, right? There are clients that like just need their dog to be able to interact with new people and new dogs, and like need to be able to take their dog to their mom's house while they're working 14-hour days, and their mom has a little dog and the dog needs to get along with that little dog and stuff like that, right? And we can't just expect people to avoid these problems forever. We could actually work to address those types of things, right? Yeah. So I just think that balance is so essential, and particularly the socialization, the allowing the dog to make decisions, the focusing on the root cause of things, but also firmly holding the dog accountable for expectations. I think I'm really striving to blend that and do it in the most simple way possible for dogs. And I think getting back to the shadow program, I think that's what most people have taken from our shadow program in the past. So
nice.
Go ahead. What do you got?
No, Mr. Pole 101.
Mr. Pole?
Mr. Pole.
I like it.
Said, hell yeah, let's go. Love your content. So
let's
like
go.
That. Matt now asks, how do you get into said shadow program?
Go on our website, miraclecaninetraining.com. There's a drop-down tab that says trainer and business coaching, I believe. It talks about the shadow program on there, and just fill out the contact form, and I'll give you a ring.
Perfect. All right. Joyful Canine Services says, do you or your staff make structured lesson plans? Is it subjective for each client or each trainer? And then do you guys just wing it, or do you give clients handouts in that regard? We
all approach things a little bit differently. And that's kind of what I like about things, right? Like we literally, like if you ask Michelle that question, she would have a different answer to me. If you ask me that question, I'll have a different answer to Bridget. If you ask Bridget that question, she'll have a different answer to everybody else, right?
Yeah.
So I've always been a wing it guy. I for better or for worse, I'm a wing it guy. I go into lessons and I try to stay as open-minded as possible about not having a plan. And when I get into the lesson, I find out what is it that I need to do, right? And then I approach sessions situation by situation based on that. I know Michelle is much more structured about things. I know that she really likes to have all of the information going into the session and kind of come up with a bit of a mental process for things, where I know Bridget's really big on the like handouts for clients and making sure they have resources and stuff like that. Like we're all a little bit different with it. And I don't think that there's a right way or a wrong way, as long as you're getting your client to the goalpost still.
Nice. Weapon of choice, she said. What's up with that dog daddy guy? It's hard to take him seriously in his expensive outfits.
We've had him on the podcast twice now. I recommend everybody watch those episodes, because the first one was like, dude can talk about his history forever, literally forever. And it's interesting. He's an interesting character, right? I think he's an interesting character. The second episode I think was really good, because it was really in the heat of all of his controversy and everything. And, he defended himself a little bit, and then I feel I pushed on him a little bit over, like, why are you trying to sensationalize everything, which I think is my problem with him personally. I don't think anything he's doing is horrendously terrible, but I do agree that he is a little hard to take seriously sometimes, with as much as he tries to just, like, craft these stories. You know, like it's wild. And it feels like ever since that podcast episode, it doesn't seem like he's actually training that much. It seems like he's just creating controversy on the internet. So I don't know, man. Who knows what the hell is up with that guy?
Yeah. Dogs from the City responded and said, yes, they did improve. They weren't the most skilled in training, but they learned to enjoy the process more and be more patient towards dogs' emotional states.
It's good. I like that. Listen, like the skills in this is going to sound a little controversial, but I don't think the skills in the training is as essential of a skill you need to have than it is being able to be emotionally in tune with the dogs you're working with, and particularly emotionally in tune with the clients that you're working with. The solutions needed, like there's a reason why a lot of people can get into dog training very easily. And the reason for that is because all it takes is being able to view owning dogs in a different way than the mass population does.
Yeah.
And just have this mindset of like, I need to give my dogs direction. And giving direction is not that hard to do. There are ways to do it more efficiently or less efficiently, but if you could be in tune with your clients and if you could be in tune with their needs and help them shift their mindset, the skills required to do that are not as deep as a lot of people think that they are. Now, obviously, as you get into more serious behavioral modification, it skews more towards you need to have more skills, obviously.
Yeah.
But just to be a good dog trainer, a good basic dog trainer, you don't need a high level of dog training skills for that. You need to have a high level of people skills for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty Boy said, the horn deserves the tooting. Just listening to the way that you all communicate to clients, upped my game, communicating to different types of people, especially when it comes to being fair and firm.
Fair and firm. That's what we try to do.
Yep. DF says, funny question for you. Aesthetics aside, is an agitation collar really useful for dogs that are becoming reliable off leash? J. Jack swears by them as a non-fuck you collar.
Well, we would have to look at, first off, what is an agitation collar? An agitation collar, per my definition of it, and the way most people have used it, is it's a collar used to restrain a dog, to agitate them to want to get to something, right? So when you train protection dogs, you either have an agitation collar or an agitation harness, and that's the thing you attach your line to. You hold your dog back from the decoy, you let your dog get all riled up and fight into it, and the collar is a really thick collar so that when the dog's fighting into it, they're not hurting themselves, obviously. And then you let them get to that thing, right? So how does that help you off leash? I don't really think it does. I don't know. I would be curious to hear his opinion on it, but the only possible thing that an agitation collar would be used for if you're looking at training off-leash reliability is, let's say you're doing restrained recalls. So restrained recall, if anybody's watched the Michael Ellis Power Training Dogs of Food, they'd see you take a dog, you hold the dog back, you have the owner run away and tease them with something, and then you let the dog go. They say, come, dog comes sprinting over to you, and you create drive for the dog to come over to you. So sure, you could use an agitation collar to train that drive and train the dog to want to come over to you. I don't think that really trains reliability. Reliability comes from punishment for non-compliance of it, right? Which the e-collar is the best tool for that. So no, I don't think it's necessary at all. I've never trained off-leash reliability with an agitation collar. So if you want to do it, like I said, if you want to do it for your restrained recalls, or if there's something I'm missing that you want to clarify, obviously, feel free. But
yeah, they also had a second question. They said, would you advise looking at sport dog training for a pet dog that is very slow to set and doesn't have a great eye contact of playtime?
Well, I don't know. What do you want to do with your dog? If you're saying, should I first off, for a pet dog, speed just doesn't matter. It just doesn't, right? I don't care how fast my dog sits or downs as long as they sit or down, right? So from a pet dog training standpoint, I don't know. I don't care about speed. If you want to just do sports stuff for fun with your dog, go for it, right? If you want to learn more nuanced specifics of how to train things and get a little deeper into the training world, and you want to look at some sport trainers for that, hell yeah, I'm all for it. I support it. But if you're asking, would a sport dog trainer train your pet dog better? Not necessarily. I don't know. Some of these are hard to answer because I need to know what is it you're struggling with and where is it you want to go with your training, right? You may just need a more skilled pet dog trainer, right? There's a lot of shitty pet dog trainers out there. And that doesn't mean that pet dog training isn't right for your dog. That just means you have a shitty pet dog trainer, right? Yeah. Same with there's shitty sport dog trainers. And let's say you're trying to do sport dog training and you got a shitty sport dog trainer. You don't need to look for a pet dog trainer. You need to look for a better sport dog trainer, right? Yeah. So... yeah, it's just training, right? It's just understand. I think the only reason why sport dog versus pet dog matters is if as a trainer you do more sports than you do pet stuff, right? Your mindset approaching situations is going to be that of what is going to make my dog more competition ready usually, right? That doesn't necessarily align with clients that want to just have a really calm, well-behaved dog in the house. They absolutely have the skills to be able to train that, but do they have the mindset of viewing things from the standpoint of what does this client need? right? That's the only time I ever look at situations like that and say, what is it? It's like from a sport dog standpoint, I used to do some sport dog stuff. So I like to think that I have the skills to train some sport dog things, but I don't have the mindset for that anymore, right? I don't have the mindset for, man, like this dog needs to get ready for a trial and like we need to fade out all the tools and this and that. So like, I don't have the mindset to be able to guide somebody down that, though I know how to teach a focused heel, right? Yeah. And I know how to teach a change of positions and a retrieve and things like that. So.
Okay. Let's see. Mike Torres asks, do you have preferences around bite gloves, brands, etc.?
Literally go on Amazon, type in welding gloves, and just buy a pair of welding gloves. Just make sure you get the long sleeve ones.
Yeah?
That's what ours are. Ours are literally welding gloves. They're not even they're not even formal bite gloves.
Wow. I didn't know that either.
Yeah. It's the same material.
Dogs from the City is replying to you from earlier. He said, I know, haha. That is what they lack a lot. Most trainers in China don't connect with people, and also we are Asians. We suck at identifying emotions.
I have no comment.
Yeah, no comment.
I have no comment. No, but I'm glad. It sounds like things improved a little bit based on one of your comments. So listen, I mean, when you nurturing certain qualities out of people or dogs, where those qualities have historically been suppressed in the past, can be challenging, right? And all you could do is just keep fighting the good fight with it and trying to look at specific things that they are either doing or not doing that's inhibiting them getting to success, Yeah.
Mr. Poll 101 asked, is there a fan page we can, as fans of your work, go to discuss and to study the content you put out as a group?
We don't have a fan page right now.
No fan page
No
yet.
fan page currently. Do it in the comment section. Yeah. Honestly, actually, dead serious, we do have really good conversations that happen in the comment section of our particularly our podcast episodes. So I follow along to all of the comments that everybody leaves. And I love when really interesting conversations happen. And there's been even times where I've had, I don't even want to say fans, followers, whatever, comment and say, I don't know if I agree with this or whatever. And we'll have a really interesting back and forth. I just had one recently on Instagram with somebody that follows our work a lot, that we were talking about like conditioning a particular tool in, right? And we got into a bit of a debate in the comment section, and it turned into this really respectful, engaging back and forth, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say the closest thing to that is just comment section. So
awesome. And then while we have Dogs in the City real quick, he had a question.
She.
What is the ratio of dogs per staff to run your kennel? If that is possible to answer. Example for boarding, or for example, if it has to be narrowed down.
Yeah, we cap off at 40 dogs in kennel, right? That's total dogs. So that's boarding trains, boarding dogs, and daycare dogs, right? And we have a staff of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, including me, that works hands-on in facility,
Yeah.
So, there's not like a particular number. We just have our cap off of how many total dogs we could have at the shop, and then boarding trains, right? Like, so, usually I'll do 2 or 3 myself. And then between Bridget and our assistant trainer, usually about 8. So it depends. But, we've just tried to look at, like, from a training standpoint, like how many is the realistic amount that we could do in a day, right? And then from a boarding standpoint, like what's the most that we could, 1, hold in the facility safely, and 2, have the staff from a morning and evening standpoint to be able to care for them properly. So.
Nice. Joyful asked, when you have a videographer joined for maybe like a human reactive type case, what are some safety precautions and protocols you take? And is there, where's the second part of it? She asked, like, is there certain things that you do to keep everybody safe?
Nothing different than we would do to keep ourselves safe. You know what I mean? Like, the videographer isn't handling the dog. We're handling the dog. So it's like, what do I do to keep myself safe?
Yeah.
Muzzles, leashes, right? Bite sleeve, bite gloves, stuff like that. Like if it's like most of these dogs we work with that are dangerous are, they're going to be dangerous to an individual trying to interact with them, right? So we can make sure that obviously in those cases that, we're the ones being protected, but the cameraman in the distance is like not even at any type of risk at that point. And if we do have like an outwardly aggressive dog that'll just bite anybody near them, one, they're going to be restrained the entire time, right? So they'll be on a leash until we start to trust them. If they're off of a leash before we trust them, they'll be on a muzzle, obviously. And we'll make sure the camera person keeps a bit of distance initially. So, I mean, nothing crazy. It's really, they're the least of our, I know it sounds bad, but like they're like the least of our concerns in that moment. It's like, well, we just need to keep ourselves safe in that moment.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. The other part was, do you feel like, does it inevitably cause more stress or reaction from the dog?
Not really.
Okay.
Paige, she's really the one that does most of it, but you used to do it a little bit as well, obviously. Like you guys got very good at just like being the fly on the wall.
Yeah. Just staying out of the way.
Just stay out of the way. You know what I mean? So no, not at all.
Yeah. The process, by the way, of superficial responses finally came back and said, read the Old Testament and put the choke chain on backwards. That's all you need. So that's what you got.
All right.
Landry Rogers asks, what's your opinion on a young dog going through a fear period? Does that exist?
Definitely. You can call them what they are, right? Like, so fear periods, maturity, things like that. I think we did a whole podcast episode on it. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like, unquestionably, we see dogs go through periods as they're developing where their behavior will intensify or get quirky, right? Whether they get abnormally weird about things, whether when they go through maturity or so like 8 months to a year and a half, we'll see them start to become confident in their fears with things. And I think that if you're doing training, it's not that big of a deal, right? Like we had a comment recently, we were talking about dogs going through maturity and at a certain age range, their problem behavior is getting worse. And they said, oh, well, like that didn't happen with my dog or something, right? And I was like, okay, well, that probably just means you were doing everything right. You know what I mean? Like if you're doing everything right and you're guiding your dog's behavior, it shouldn't matter. You know what I mean? Like as you approach the fear period and the dog inevitably gets scared of the trash can and tries to react at it, right? Or whatever, scared of your guest coming over and tries to nip at them, you would just address it in the moment, however you needed to address it. And then you'd be past it and it's not a problem. You know what I mean? Like, and you wouldn't even recognize and think, oh my God, my dog's going through this period of things getting really bad. Same deal with like as trainers, when we get dogs, when they go through that maturity phase, which is where most clients will call us and say, hey, my dog is becoming a monster right now. We don't see that because at the very first sign of there being a problem, we would just address it. Right. So I think it's absolutely a real thing, but I think the better you're training your dog, the less of a problem that it winds up being for you in the first place.
Yeah. Stark K9 Academy, first off, said hi. It's Anissa?
I don't know.
Okay. And then she also said fear period should be renamed to heightened period, similar to human teen stage.
Yeah, heightened period. I think I would agree with that. Like they become more aware of stuff. Like I think like anybody who's brought home an 8-week-old puppy knows that when you first bring them into the house, they're just kind of like aloof to everything. You know what I mean? It's like nothing's really that concerning. They're very engaged with what they're engaging with in the moment and this and that. And you see them go through this stage where it's almost like they recognize, oh my God, like there's all this shit happening around me, right? And they become hyper aware of everything going on around them. And that's when they could start becoming spooked easily by things because they're like looking for everything. So yeah, I would agree with that for sure.
Yeah. Landry Rogers said, thank you, David.
No problem.
And that's where we're at right now.
Awesome. Well, look at that. We got a good stretch of comments there.
Yeah, that was good.
That was good.
Keep them coming.
YouTube's better than Instagram.
Yeah, we got to figure that out.
What a mess. I wish we could have them both. But maybe we'll just have to do it like two phones.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I
next time
I could do YouTube on my phone.
Can you do Instagram live on a computer? I don't even know.
I looked. I think you have to be like a partner.
We'll figure it out for next time. Don't you guys worry. Awesome. Any other topics, guys? Hit me with whatever else you guys may have.
Yeah, give us something.
Give us something. Still got 17 viewers here.
Yeah.
What's the most interesting thing anybody has seen in the dog world recently that they've seen? That's what I want to know. Interesting thing. Like, let's say you're scrolling Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook. What's the last thing you saw that really caught your eye from a training standpoint? I was listening to, getting back to that Dylan James guy, I believe. I like I said, he came across my feed recently, and like I really like the dude's content. So I listened to, he did like a live with Larry Crohn's, like 3 hours long. He did one with Ivan recently. And I was watching those, and I think it was the one with Ivan. He was talking about, social media has become so fucking boring for dog trainers these days. Like everybody's posting the same shit. It's all a dog on place. It's all a dog healing through the park. It's all, you know what I mean? Like it's all, nobody's showing what people actually want to see, which is dogs actually overcoming behavioral issues, not through the management of training, right? Dogs being able to be off leash and running around, dogs being able to socialize effectively. And I'll tell you, I think that's been something that I've been trying to highlight more. And I will credit him to pushing that, What do we got here? Looks like we got a couple things. Any stories on handling feral dogs? I don't know if you can call them feral dogs, but I'll tell you this Potcake Robin we have in right now is the closest fucking thing to a feral dog that we've had in a while. Just like so petrified of everybody around him, right? Like just like total shutdown, snapping, growling, barking, all that kind of stuff. Not much of a story, but like he just needed to get used to human contact. You know what I mean? Like he's never had people handle him ever before. I guess a good story on that. We worked with this one client long time ago. This is back when this might have been even before Heights Canada. This might have been 10 to 10 plus years ago. We had this client bring in 2 wolf hybrids for us to train. And the one was pretty normal, kind of acted like a dog. I think it was like a mid-content wolf hybrid. This other one, I swear to God, was 100% wolf. This dog was crazy, man. And she was just like so unbelievably terrified of everything. It's hard to describe. And I'll tell you, this dog was with us probably 5 weeks. First, like 3 weeks, every time you take the dog out of the crate, just tail tucked, wouldn't do anything. We're trying to do positive reinforcement training with the dog, get the dog comfortable, get the dog moving, things like that. And I remember the turning point with her was I went and like got some McDonald's. And I'm sitting there, I'm eating. She just kind of wandered over to me and was like a little curious. And I had some like chicken nuggets, and I ripped a chicken nugget in half. And I just gave this dog a chicken nugget. And I'll tell you, that was the absolute fucking turning point. One chicken nugget later, and it was like we were best friends. It was ridiculous. But man, the patience you need with some of those types of dogs, because again, when I say this, I don't mean like out of control. Like it's not like she would walk fine with me, she would like listen to me when I needed to get her back into the kennel or get her in from the yard and stuff like that. But she was just so unbelievably terrified. It's hard to describe how terrified she was. And it was just the patience required to just let the dog warm up. Let the dog warm up. Let the dog warm up. And you just see that turning point eventually where they go from being so petrified to like, oh, that's not that bad. And that's kind of like what I was describing on the Instagram live just a little bit ago at the beginning of this podcast. This dog Kevin we have in right now, who we're just focusing on socialization with him. That's the only thing he needs right now. His training is fine. He listens fine. He's not out of control or anything, but he's so fucking petrified of other dogs. And the first 2 times we would let him out, just tail absolutely tucked, just crouched over, just so scared. And seeing him finally make that turn where he just got it. It was like he would just lay down the whole time we would let him out. And then finally one day it's like a dog just kind of came up to him just right. And you see his tail just start kind of wagging a little bit. And then he got up and then he was just like an absolute playing machine. Yeah. I mean, it was crazy, but just, you got to have patience with some of that kind of stuff. Oh, yeah. You can't force it. You cannot force it. Everybody tries to force it. Everyone, they see dogs like that, goes, come on, let's go. Come on, buddy. Right? They try to like get them running around and stuff. Yeah. Just leave them be. Have some patience and they will come out of their shell.
Yeah. Uncommon Truth Shaman says, my favorite thing to showcase with my dogs is off-leash adventures.
Mm-hmm. Now, see, I think what's even more impressive is showcasing that with other people's stuff. Not to shit on what you're saying, obviously. Yeah, like obviously we want to showcase our off-leash adventures. That's one of my favorite things to do with my dogs. I go in this big field we got behind the house, throw the chuck it freaking crazy far, 60 yards, 70 yards, and they're just back and forth running. And but being able to do that with other people's dogs is what's really impressive. I just posted a story the other day. We have this other board and trained Nala in right now we've been highlighting a lot of because she's highly reactive German Shepherd that lives in an apartment. And they've never trusted her enough to be able to let her off leash. She was reactive, so they couldn't really socialize her before and stuff. And every single day I've been walking this dog to the park, letting the dog off leash and playing chuck it with the dog, or letting her just absolutely tear around with other dogs. And like those two things mixed with holding her to a higher standard from an obedience standpoint, God, this dog is so it's incredible to see how much better she is. She's only been with us for just over a week. I remember my week phone call. I got on the phone with the owner. I was like, yeah, what kind of questions do you guys have about the first package? He's like, well, my first one is that actually our dog? It sounded like he was half serious with the question of like, is that actually my dog you're sending me videos of?
Yeah.
You know, and that's going to be the key to success with him. She lives in an apartment building, right? Like German Shepherds don't live, like they shouldn't live in apartment buildings, but she does. So it's like, we got to make sure we fulfill this dog and give this dog the outlets so she's not a neurotic, psychotic mess for the dog all the time when they take her out.
Yeah. We had a couple people love your chicken nugget.
The chicken nugget story.
Kathy Keating said, LOL, the chicken nugget cure.
That's it.
And Stark K9 said, the power of a chicken nugget.
The power of a chicken nugget, indeed.
Uncommon Truth Shaman also said, my board and train and I, my board and train I am working currently is the same situation. Needs socialization severely. Will work on anything else at a later time.
Yeah, because here's the thing. Like, there are some dogs... In the past, I've done extreme boarding trains where I don't do any obedience training. We just do socialization, right? There are some dogs that just benefit so much from that. One of the case-in-point examples, Fiona. If you guys have ever seen the videos we post of Fiona, if you haven't, go on our YouTube channel and just type in Fiona. Little Chihuahua, petrified of everything, really reactive, would bite anybody that tried to touch her and stuff. We didn't do literally any obedience training.
Yeah.
I'm not even exaggerating. It was one of the only dogs. We didn't do e-collar training with her. We didn't do obedience training with her. All we did is socialization with all the staff, with other dogs, environmental socialization, getting her out in new places, right? And we would give little corrections, obviously, with the leash for certain things and stuff like that. But what the remarkable transformation that she made was so incredible. And there was not a fucking hint of obedience training that we did. Not a hint of it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Andrew said, how would you go about a Rottweiler that is reactively aware and constantly scanning?
Pick the problems and address the problems. I mean, it's a hard question to ask, but it's like, what's the problem, right? Reactively aware. So what that leads me to believe is the dog is reactive, right? Which means you don't have control over the dog in the presence of those triggers. So you got to address that problem. And getting back to the other things we talked about, we're probably not socializing this dog enough or putting the dog in a position to make decisions in the first place. So you got to be able to safely do that and correct those things as you see it.
Nice. Kathy also said, off-leash adventures, pack walks, twice a week with a really skillful handler accelerated my my dog's progress times 10. So helpful.
Yeah, it's like the power of perception sometimes when you stack fun, positive things with when you offset the negativity and the things you're fighting with the dog for with the fun things, right? So like if 75% of the dog's life, the dog has all these things to look forward to, right? Like the pack walks, socialization with other dogs, off-leash hikes, things like that. And 25% of the dog is in tough situations where they're needing to pass dogs in close quarters and keep their behavior under control and stuff. You got so much more working in your favor at that point, you know what I mean, than you would if you're just only doing 75% the really hard stuff and 25% the other thing. So like we got to start looking at how do we skew this? Like sometimes with your reactive dog, if you're struggling with your reactivity, just going and playing with the dog in the yard for a while, right? And holding them accountable in the house and like, you know, doing easier things with the dog for a bulk of your time will make it so that when you go to ask the dog to keep it under control, it's going to be that much easier for them. So...
Yeah, Stark K9 said, work on Roddy's engagement / bond with owner.
See, that is I don't... Kind of, right? We would have to elaborate what we mean by like bond, work on bond with owner. Like that's like, let's be real, like that could mean anything. You know what I mean? Like how do we work on the bond with the owner? Well, we work on the bond with the owner by making sure the dog starts respecting the owner a little bit, in my opinion. right? How do we work on engagement? Not by going to the park and pumping the dog full of treats. We work on engagement by training the dog to do something and holding them accountable for doing that thing. You know what I mean? Like, so I just like to, and she said, obviously similar to what you said.
Yeah.
Totally agree, obviously. I just like to spell it out a little more clearly sometimes for people, because like keeping it gray like that could mean anything. Because like if somebody were to be like, oh, okay, I work on engagement, YouTube, how to do engagement with your dog, you're going to get 9,000 different things. And a lot of times you're going to get all the things that you probably don't want to do and are actually not going to work very well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So the short answer to all this stuff is you just got to train the dog, right? Like, it's like everybody tells me, they call me and they're like, I have a reactive dog. And they're like, but I don't really need obedience training because my dog knows their obedience. And I'm like, okay, so why don't you use your obedience when the dog's being reactive? And they're like, well, because I can't get my dog to do it there. It's like, okay, well then your obedience training isn't good enough yet.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, we got to obedience train the dog, and not just obedience train the dog, but make sure it's actually reliable in the real world mixed with the other things we discussed. Yep. So.
Awesome. Pretty Boy came back for another question. I'm also a dog walker, and sometimes I get clients with reactive power breeds that are still somehow on the fence about getting away from harnesses. Most I can convince, but some I can't.
You're in a tough position because they're not hiring you for training advice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the tough part. Dog walkers are in a beautiful situation because you get access to so many dogs, right? Where you can get hands-on with them. And yeah, if they're open to you training the dog, you can gain so much experience doing it that way. But at a certain point, you've got to accept the fact that they're hiring you to walk their dog. That's it. Right? Yeah. And if they don't want help with the training, sorry, right? It's not my job to convince you for it, right? Now, let's say somebody was hiring you for training and they were trying to dictate those things, we wouldn't pick those people as clients then at that point. But as a walker, there's only so much you can do about that.
Yeah. And then he also, we got two more questions, but I'll go to his second question. He just had a Corso slam his owner to the ground and bum rush towards me and my bully. I held restraint and was able to maneuver the dog, but at what point do I have the right to handle their dog?
As soon as the dog is off leash and charging at your dog, my number one priority becomes protect my dog.
Yeah. 100%.
That's it.
Yeah. Okay. Kathy says, my older dog is losing her hearing. We haven't needed the e-collar for a few years. Should I go back to the e-collar with her or rely more on the hand signals or both?
So this is the one place I think vibration on the e-collar is an excellent tool. Right? So if you know for sure it's a hearing issue and not the dog blowing you, not a selective hearing issue, that would be a place we would train a vibration recall. And how do we do that? Exactly like you train a verbal recall.
Yeah.
Like we had a deaf dog recently go home and we had a lot of people asking questions like, how do you train a deaf dog? I'm like, exactly how you train a dog that could hear. The only difference is instead of saying sit, then leash pressure reward, or sit, then food lure reward, we go food lure reward, leash pressure reward, right? It's no different. So vibration, right? Come, then e-collar correction, come back, whatever. It's vibration, e-collar correction, come back. You know what I mean? Like it's the same exact thing. You're just doing a different cue for it.
Yeah.
So the thing that you start with becomes the vibration instead of the verbal command.
She said, LOL. I think it's a little bit of both, honestly.
Yeah.
It might be selective dog hearing too.
So two birds with one stone. At least you could ensure the dog will feel the vibration so you can consistently hold it accountable for it.
Very much so. Jamie Braxton said, my Chihuahua plays well with all her other dog friends, but barks the entire time while running and playing. Even when she's standing still and watching the others, she's still barking. Why?
Who knows? Who cares? Some dogs bark when they play.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't have any problem with that.
Yeah.
No problem at all, right? Some dogs are very, very vocal players. That's like people tell me all the time, like, oh, my dog growls when they're playing with other dogs. I'm like, are they having fun? They're like, yeah. I'm like, cool. Love it.
Matters.
Yeah. No problem. Hold on. I don't know what happened. I had a phone call come in.
Uh-oh. Yeah, we're frozen over here.
Oh, shit. It says we're live still, but apparently not. Oh. It's frozen.
Dang.
Bro.
Oh.
All right, just give me the last questions. I'll answer them and then.
Okay. Let's see. The Uncommon Shaman said, just wanted.
Oh, you know what it is?
What?
This person's leaving a voicemail. Let me stop it. There we go. Whoa, green screen.
Green
Jesus
screen.
Christ.
All right, we're back.
Get rid of that.
Whoa, it is. It's green on
Okay,
too.
it should be back to normal.
All right. Sorry, guys. A little.
Sorry, I was getting a phone call and it froze the call.
Yeah. Let's see.
So yeah, barking, not a problem with other dogs. Listen, if your dog's playing and having a good time, let them do their thing.
Let's see. Yeah, and Pretty Boy said, within the laws of New York State, it's frustrating that all the work I put in can be ruined by someone's negligence.
Yeah. I don't know if I believe, yes, can getting rushed by an off-leash dog derail your progress a little bit? Yes, but if you know what you're doing from a training standpoint, you should be able to recover from it very quickly. Unless your dog gets absolutely mauled by another dog, you should be able to recover very quickly from that. So I wouldn't sweat yourself so much about that, but absolutely protect your dog. If you're getting rushed by an off-leash dog, make sure that dog does not pose a threat to your dog.
Yeah. Okay. Uncommon Truth Shaman said, just want to express my gratitude to y'all and your channel, the rate at which you guys put out content, the substance of your content, and each one of your individually up there at Miracle. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the kind words.
We love hearing that, all that works for something,
Yeah.
Let's see. Stark K9 said, I would not walk a power breed with only a harness. That's risky business.
I agree with that. To the point of the person that was asking about their dog walker and they struggle getting clients on board with certain things, you still can be picky and choosy about if a dog is out of control and they're saying that, everybody's saying they don't have audio now.
Oh no.
Unreal. Can you hear on yours?
We'll see.
Hello? Nothing? Can you hear me?
Nothing's coming through.
Yay, no? Probably not. Hold on. I just muted and unmuted. Hopefully you could hear now. Can you hear now? Hello? Any audio? God, the technical difficulties in these lives. We're going to make sure we get this under control next time. Everybody says no. Unreal. All right. Type in that we're going to leave. We're going to finish the rest of the comments and wrap it up, and then they can, on the replay, on the podcast when it goes live, hear the rest of the answers.
Okay.
Unbelievable. That call really screwed us.
Yeah.
Did you send it?
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yep. It's Tuesday.
All right. So what's the rest of it? What other questions we still got?
No, that was it actually.
That was it?
Yeah, everything else is just saying they couldn't hear us anymore.
All right.
She said, thanks so much. That was great.
Appreciate it, guys. We'll catch you guys on the next one.
Bye.